أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على خيرة خلق الله أجمعين وهو رحمته للعالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الميامين المهديين ولا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أرواحنا له الفداء. أما بعد، فقال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ووجوه يومئذ باسرة تظن أن يفعل بها فاقرة آمن بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Continuing from last night's discussion about the desire that we have as human beings to be happy, to love and to be loved. And as I mentioned last night, there is a distinction between different kinds of love. There's love for the right reason, and there's love for the wrong reason. Or we may describe this as profane love and sacred love. Love that is pure and love that is adulterated and impure. And depending on the heart that we have, and as I spoke about last night, depending on our connection with the Messenger of Allah, then our situation on the Day of Judgment will be determined according to that relationship or by the standard of that relationship. And I began with the verses from Surah Al-Qiyamah last night of the believers who are standing in the court of Allah with faces that are described as nadira, happy, glowing, full of love, looking at their Lord. Imagine looking at their Lord, and we talked about that last night, with the gaze of love. With the gaze of love. And that's group one, and we talked about that last night. We discussed that. But the surah quickly follows on to group two. And group two are those who are miserable on the Day of Judgment. They are depressed, basira. Their faces are frowning, in a state of complete loss and sadness and they're petrified. وَوُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ بَاسِرَةٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ بَاسِرَةٌ. And those faces are petrified, waiting for their spines to be snapped. It's quite a profound description. تَظُنُّ أَنْ يُفْعَلَ بِهَا فَاقِرَةٌ. That it's a back-breaking punishment, that it's describing that's like snapping the spine in half. So the first group is happy, love, full of love, looking at their Lord. And the second group, not so happy. And these two groups of people, these two archetypes of human beings, come from two different backgrounds. But they have one thing in common. They loved while they're in this world. They were loved and they loved other things or other people. But the question is, what we love in this world, how will it translate into the Day of Judgment? What will be the currency conversion? And this is where the Quran distinguishes between love that is real and love that is false. A love, in the case of the group that we're speaking about tonight, from the ayat that we recited tonight, a love of things that are false, a love of things that are illusory, a love of things that have no permanence, have no connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَقْدَعُونَ لَهُمْ تَعْذِيمَ الْمَحْبُوبِ. That as the Mufassirun say, that they show love to these people or these things as they would show love to God. They show humility in front of them. They do ta'zeem of them. They're in a state of humility. They humble themselves before the things other than Allah. They humble themselves before that which they were never commanded to humble themselves before. And they do so with the gaze of love. They do so with a smile on their face. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. And from among the people, human beings, are those who take partners with God. يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. And they love them as if it was the love of God, like the love of God. This was their problem. يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. They love them like they were supposed to love God, whether it be an actor, whether it be my children, whether it be my wife, whether it be my son, whether it be my work, whether it be my money, my house, whatever it is, my politicians, my leaders. They love them with the love that they were supposed to show, which is reserved for Allah Azza wa Jal, and the Rasul of Allah, and the Hujjat of Allah. There's a special love reserved for them. A special ta'zeem which is reserved for them. A special honor that is reserved for them. A special humility that is reserved for them, which cannot abadan be shared with anyone else. But the problem of insan is that too often they share, they mix. And here andad are not to be taken as physical idols. Andad are those people within the community that they set up as their ashraf. Ooh, these are our leaders. And they begin honoring them as they should honor Allah and His Messenger and the proofs and the hujjaj of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we call profane love, adulterated love, demonic love. And we may feel happy in this world in terms of simple emotions, or at least think we're happy. But in reality, on the Day of Judgment, those faces will be the most miserable in front of Allah. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ يُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةِ. So what is their problem as is described in Surah Al-Insan? إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ يُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةِ. That they love that which was perishing. They love that which was impermanent. They love that which was with them one day and gone the next. وَيَذَارُونَ وَرَاءَهُمْ يَوْمًا ثَقِيلًا. And they disregarded the Day of Judgment. That most heavy day did not factor into the decisions of what they love and who they love. And for that reason, on the Day of Judgment, they will be raised with faces that are described as basira, miserable in front of Allah, waiting for their spines to be broken. Because they made the choice to love the wrong things while they lived in this world, whether it be 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, whatever it is, or for some people even younger. We have to live with our choices, my dear brothers and sisters. We are what we love. You know, they say you are what you eat. We are what we love. And what we love is reflected in what we do, the kind of person that I am. It speaks to a state of mind, a state of heart. The love of a child can lead a father or a mother down a road of great happiness in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. But the love of a child can also be a fitna. It can also be a great test for a mu'min or a mu'minah. As our teacher, Hujjatul Islam Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi, recently pointed out in a beautiful lecture, it is a nukta latifa, jiddan, a very beautiful point. He points out something so beautiful, my teacher. He says that there are occasions, as we see in the Quran, where children can be a negative influence on parents, causing the parents to go astray, causing the Qiyamah and the Day of Judgment and the parents to be among those yuhibbun al-ajila, that they sacrificed the heavy day and the great day for the love of that music party, or for the love of that dance, or for the love of sending their child here or there, knowing that it is in the disobedience of Allah and His Messenger. Or sometimes it can be the other way around. The parent, na'udhu billah, can be the negative influence on the child, such as a mother encouraging the daughter not to wear hijab, or discouraging her from observing hijab because of the modern world and the need to fit in, the need to move ahead in the career, in the corporate ladder. It can be both ways. We have to ask ourselves, what do we love and why do we love it? And who do we love and why do we love them? What is the asas and the foundation of that love? And that requires sometimes what I call the 3 R's. We need a reminder. We need a reminder. I know many of you have heard what I'm saying, and many of you have heard what Samahat al-Shaykh says many times here, and the other shuyukh and sadat who sit on this pulpit. I know that. But a reminder is the cornerstone of the Quran. It is a reminder. We have to constantly remind ourselves because we are innately forgetful. We are innately heedless. We are innately lazy without that reminder. So we have to take heed of the reminder. Number 2, we have to reflect on the reminder. If we want to see any meaningful change in our life, wallah, brothers and sisters, if we want to see any meaningful change in our life, we have to reflect. We have to reflect on what is said. We have to do, as they say in Arabic, tatbiq, application of what is said, the meaning of what is said, ala anfusina, upon ourselves. We have to reflect. And number 3, we have to then reform. Because reminder and reflection is only so good as it spurs within us, it ignites within us the desire and the will to change, to be better tomorrow, to love the right things for the right reason, to make the difficult decisions that we know are not easy, we know may require some sacrifice. Whether it be of our wealth, whether it be of our position, status, whatever it may be, it may require that sacrifice. But reform only comes about when we take those steps. We read in a beautiful tradition of the Middle Mu'mineen, but before that recite a salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In speaking about this hubb al-ajil, the love of that which is impermanent, illusory, he says, قَدْ تَصَافَيْتُمْ عَلَى رَفْضِ الْأَجَلِ وَحُبِّ الْعَاجِلِ. From rafada, to reject. That you joined hands with one another in rejecting that which is permanent. In rejecting that, the reward which is with Allah, and the intercession of His Messenger, and the A'immah, and all the promises of Jannah, and the peaceful life, and the sukoon of the dhikr of Allah, and the tranquility of the deen. That you joined hands together in projecting that, pushing that away. وَحُبَّ الْعَاجِلِ. And instead in joining in with one another, hand over hand in love and obsession and amazement. These are all the different ways to express this line of all that which is perishing. Darul Fana. وَصَارَ. And now, وَصَارَ دِينِ أَحَدِكُمْ لَعِقًا. And now your religion becomes useless, hollow. لَيْسَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ, as the commentators say. This la'iqa, it's not in their heart. Useless, it's just something on their tongues. Middle Mu'mineen speaks very plainly and very clearly, very direct, my dear brothers and sisters. Just today I was, some youths reached out to me from the subcontinent. I'll share this story here on the pulpit because I think it's important. Some youths reached out to me from the subcontinent. And they told me, Sheikh, we have a problem. I told them, what's the problem? What's the issue? He said that it seems so often when we come together to want to follow the actual ahkam and rulings of the sunnah, whether it be in marriage, whether it be, in financial issues, whether it be in, in family life, other issues, we get pushback. And we don't know where to go, and we're disenchanted. And these are the cream of the crop of our youth, mu'mineen and mu'minat, saying they are disenchanted with a culture that does not hold hands under the sunnah, if they even know the sunnah. They come together on the basis of nonsensical urf and common view and cultural practices which have no semblance within the teachings of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. And I told them to be patient. I told them that these problems are everywhere in the world. We experience this everywhere. We experience this here. We experience this in Delhi, in Bombay, in Karachi, in Basra. And we're not to divorce from culture, no. But that culture can never be a culture that takes us further away from the love of Allah and the pleasant experience of Yawm al-Qiyamah. It has to be on the basis of loving the right things for the right reason. We don't love our cultural practices because they are our culture. This is blind love, ignorant love. Ala asas al-jahl. And these youths are crying to me. Dozens and dozens and dozens of messages. Telling me, what do? We want to follow our marja exactly as our marja has taught us. But our parents are saying, no, but we have to do this and we have to do that. They said, but I want to follow marja'iyya. I want to follow exactly as my marja has explained to me what the hukum is. And what is mustahab and what is makruh to abstain from. And then they're told, well, that's not really how we do things around here. This disenchants people. This pushes people away from the religion. It makes people cynical and upset. That for us, the candle of our heart can never be lit until we submit to Allah and His Messenger. Then only our heart can glow with the nur of Iman. And then everything else, my descent, my ancestry, my folk customs, whatever it be from whatever part of the world, everything is then comes secondary to those primary principles. But in order for me to reach that, I have to be a person of knowledge. I have to love people of knowledge, ahlul ilm wal ma'rifah, and I have to want to change. And I have to ask myself very difficult questions. And often these things become maladies of the heart. Because we keep constantly are loving things where we don't know why we love them and how we love them. It's like leaving diabetic retinopathy unchecked, right? It can cause blindness. Someone doesn't take care of the sugar, they don't take care of the glucose, they keep eating bad food, they keep, pursuing that lifestyle that leads to that. Eventually they will go blind. The same thing goes with the heart, brothers, the qalb. Eventually, God forbid, from any one of us here, the heart goes black, just goes blind. And the Quran speaks to that on many occasions. Because it is the nafs that has forgotten who is his Lord. And we have a crisis, my dear brothers and sisters, that is unparalleled in the history of Islam. Before I get to that, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We're speaking about what we love and why we love it. But my dear brothers and sisters, we have a crisis, and I as an educator, of one of the, of being in one of the largest communities in North America, if not the largest community in North America, I'm on the front line of this. I work with children every single day. We have a crisis. We have to first accept that we have a crisis. What is that crisis? The power of mass communication, of mass media. We have a crisis here and we have a crisis in the Muslim world. That now the devil has tools that he has never had before. He can attack us in the privacy of our bedrooms and our living rooms. You see satellite dishes all over the Eastern world. I'm not saying that's haram. But what's beaming in? More than often, it's polluting our youth, it's polluting our elderly, and it's polluting our women and our children. And it is raising a society of junk people with junk brains and junk hearts. And I see it every single day. I see its psychological effects. I see its spiritual effects. I see its social effects. Every single day I see it. We deal with depression, anxiety, the blindness of the heart, the loss of empathy. Brothers and sisters, we first need to accept that many of us have let the devil into our rooms. This is a reality. And we have to ask, how many children are we ready to sacrifice at the altar of digital devices? How many more children are ready to be sacrificed? I'm not saying to ban it, but I'm saying, do we know what its effects are? Do we know really what is going on with it? How many more souls are going to be sacrificed for this? For the love of what? It comes back to love. Hubb al-ajal or hubb al-ajil. The love of what, for what, and for whom? Ya ayyuhan nas, innama baghyukum ala anfusikum. That, O mankind, your rebellion is against yourselves. It's not against Allah. God is not hurt. Rasul is not hurt. The Hujjah is not hurt. No. They don't need us. We rebel against ourselves, my dear brothers and sisters. When we make choices to love things that we really should not be loved, by giving a place in our heart to people and things and concepts and ideas that either we don't know what its effect will be, or we knowingly do it and then it pollutes our heart regardless. And that's why we turn to Allah when Allah tells us, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillah. Astajibu lillahi wa lirrasul idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. That, O you who believe, answer the call of Allah and His Messenger when they call upon you to give you life, to bring you back to life, to resuscitate you. That true life, my dear brothers and sisters, is not jumping from a bungee cord to get a rush, or out of an airplane. People say, why do they do it? They feel alive. They get a rush of life. The feeling of being alive is not resuscitating someone who has died in an emergency. It is the love of the one who never dies. The love of the one who will guide us through the darkest of our nights and the most calamitous of our days. It is only His love of the Hayyul Qayyum that will give life to our hearts. And we cannot love Him until we are in love and submitted to, in a state of submission to His Messenger. And this love is unlike any other love, my dear brothers and sisters. It's an unusual love. It's an unusual love. I'll read you a few lines from the poem of Imrul Qais. You know, the Jahili Arabs knew a thing or two about lovers and the mu'allaqat. They had many love poems. And there's a reason why these poems survived in the books of Arabic literature. Because it gives us a lesson of what love is. And then ask yourself and myself, I ask myself and I ask you to ask yourself, do you have this relationship with Rasulullah? Where Imr al-Qais is saying here, وَقِفَ نَبْكِي مِنْ ذِكْرِ حَبِيبِي وَمَنْزِلِي. You know, we stop to cry and remember the places where our beloved used to be. بِسِقْتِ اللِّوَى بَيْنَ الدُّخُولِ فَحَوْمَلِي. That there's traces of them everywhere. أَمُرُّ عَلَى دِيَارِ لَيْلَى. That I passed by the house of Layla. أُقَبِّلُ ذَا الْجِدَارَ وَذَا الْجِدَارَ. And I kissed its walls and that which is in between the walls. وَمَا حُبُّ الدِّيَارَ شَغَفَنَّ قَلْبِي. But it is not the walls that enraptured my heart. وَلَكِنْ حُبُّ مَنْ سَكَنَ دِيَارًا. But it is the one who lived in that house. It is the one who resided in that house that has enraptured my heart, owns my heart. Do we have that connection with the Messenger of Allah? Do we wish to walk in his footsteps? When we enter the city of Medina, what goes through our hearts? Do we stop and cry and look and think, he walked on this land? Do we have that kind of love? That kind of immersion? We cannot go to the love of Allah without this. And the same goes for all the ma'asumeen. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'll now move to Imam Rida, connecting what we have just said. If we truly love the proofs of Allah, the greatest signs of Allah, the ma'asumeen, then we follow their sunnah. Or at the very least, we don't obstruct people who are engaging in something that has been approved by them, allowed by them, or encouraged by them. The mother of Imam al-Kadhim was a woman by the name of Hamida, Allahumma salli ala Hamida Barbari. She was African, somewhere within the Maghrib. That should be something interesting for you to think of to begin with. She herself was a non-Arab. She was an Ajam. Different culture, huh? She found a woman by the name of Najma. She was a servant from the Horn of Africa. Najma Nubiya. She has different names. One of the names is Najma. So she acquired this servant from the Horn of Africa, modern day Sudan, somewhere between Sudan and Egypt. They obviously were of dark skin, complexion. She described her as the most honorable of the Ajam, the greatest in intellect, in devotion to the deen of Islam, and even the one with the strongest bones and strength, Adhan. And you know what she told her son? Brothers and sisters, listen to this. So Imam al-Kadhim is Hashimi, Arabi, yes? Yes. Descending from the peninsula, the Hijaz. She suggested that her son marry this woman because of the qualities that she saw in her, a Nubian, African maidservant, marries Imam al-Kadhim and becomes the mother of Imam Rida. And after her giving birth, she was known as a Tahira. Tahira, the purified one. In fact, we have riwayat where Imam Rida was nursing and she asked for another woman to assist her so that she could perform and complete her tasbihat and mustahab namaz and salawat. Think about this, brothers. Sisters, think about this. A Nubian African maidservant. But none of that mattered. None of that mattered. Because the mother of the Imam knew of course, who would be best, and of course the Imam himself, to be the mother of the Ma'soom. To deliver milk to the Ma'soom. To hold that Ma'soom Imam. There's no room for these biases, my brothers and sisters. There's no room for this jahal and ignorance in our madhab. No room. It is absolutely unacceptable. It is the most disgusting kind of behavior and attitude to have, because we go to Imam Rida, who then also married a Nubian woman, and then gave birth to Imam al-Jawad, who was, guess what? According to many traditions, aswad, black. And because of that, the riwayas in Al-Kafi, Alam al-Wara, many sources, some of the relatives began complaining that how could we have a boy of this color? How could he be the Imam? Na'udhu billah. Na'udhu billah. And the Imam turned against them and protested them. We have many traditions to this effect, brothers, many traditions. Don't have time to go into all of it tonight. The Imam Rida was so madloom. He was insulted by the people around him. By his own akriba, the tradition says, Banu Umuma. Because of that jahili ignorance, that, some remnants of it were left. And the Imams shattered this most impure and destructive bias and racism and behavior. Now we have 3 generations of African mothers, don't we? The mother of Imam al-Kadhim, the mother of Imam Rida, and the mother of Imam al-Jawad. African. 2 of them for certain were Nubian, from the Horn of Africa. Modern day Sudan, perhaps. We're not entirely certain, but from the Horn of Africa. Northeast Africa. I hope, inshallah, I am sure none of us have these biases in our hearts. And we seek refuge in Allah from this shar, this evil, and this filth. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Leave aside the fact that it's not about tolerating their marrying. So we better think twice the next time we reject a marriage proposal for the wrong reasons. Look at the Risala of the Marja and we'll see what is written there. I'm not saying people have to marry outside of their culture, no. I married, my wife was from my culture. But the Imams have shown us great precedent that they were looking for the best, for the most pious, for the most faithful to become the mother of a child. That faith and that piety knows no color. Neither black nor white, nor brown. This is how empowering the religion of Islam is. And we see that the Prophet describes Imam Rida by saying that a part of me shall be buried in Khurasan. A part of me shall be buried in Khurasan. That no mu'min shall visit him except Allah shall make Jannah incumbent upon him and shall make hell or make him immune from hell. This is the significance of the ziyarah of Imam Rida, as foretold by the Prophet himself. Now we know Ma'mun was jealous of Imam Rida. Despite appointing him as successor, there were certain interactions between them that brought that jealousy in his heart. One of them, for example, was when Imam Rida was with Ma'mun, and Ma'mun, maybe out of laziness, I don't know why, he had someone pour the water for his wudu. The Imam told him, someone should not be your sharik in this act of ibadat. Do it yourself. People say he didn't like it. The Imam corrected the king, the Khalifa. Imam is Imam. He corrects you whether it's Khalifa or whether it's a person on the street. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Ma'mun didn't like it. This arrogance and jealousy boiled in the heart of Ma'mun until he requested one of his servants to grow long fingernails and to put poison in those nails and to go and fetch pomegranates for the Imam, which he would squeeze into juice and mix that poison with the pomegranate. This was stage 1 of the poisoning. The poison is delivered to the Imam. Again, a poison of jealousy, hatred, arrogance. Then the Imam is poisoned with grapes. The Imam would suffer and die as a result of that poisoning. Imam Rida tells us about the month of Muharram. These words are so impactful. He says, in fact, some of the most powerful descriptions of the musibah of Imam al-Hussein is from Imam Rida, where he says, in this month our blood was made halal, وَخُتِكَ فِيهِ خُرْمَتُنَا, and our sanctity and dignity was violated in this month. وَالسُّبِيَ فِيهِ ذَرَارِيرُنَا, and our family were taken captive. وَنِسَاؤُنَا, and our women were taken captive. What happened to those women? Subiya ahluka kal'abid, that they were imprisoned like slaves. وَصُفِّدُوا فِي الْحَدِيدِ, and locked up in iron chains. The daughters of Fatima and Ali, locked up in iron chains. This is what the Imam is referring to. فَوْقَ أَقْتَابَ الْمُطِيَّاتِ, upon camels without saddles. These are the daughters of Rasulullah that knew nothing but honor in the Ummah, are now locked up in chains on top of saddleless camels. أَيْدِيهُمْ مَغْلُولَةٌ إِلَى الْأَعْنَاقِ, with their hands chained to their necks, as we read in Ziyarat al-Nahiya and the various reports. With their hands chained to their necks, brothers and sisters. Such that the traditions tell us that when one of them would cry, this is narrated in the books of history, Sunni and Shia, that when one of them would cry, they would take the end of the rumah, of the spear, and they would begin to hit her with the spear, because they didn't want to hear her crying. Could we even imagine the wounds on Zainab, salamullahi alayhi, Kulthum, Fatima bint al-Hussein, Sakina, Rubab? What was the state? What was their state after this journey? Then the Imam says, our tents were set on fire. Our possessions were looted. Right? As the riwayah states, Fatima bint al-Hussein, Tabari narrates this and others, that she's standing in the court of Yazid. Yazid tells her, well, I'm not really happy with what has happened to you. She tells him that an earring was not even left on our ears. An earring, we didn't even leave the earrings on our ears. This is what the historians report. So when the Imam is saying that their possessions were looted, brothers and sisters, this is what it means by their possessions being looted. That their tents were lit on fire. As the riwayah states, Imam al-Abidin, every time he closes his eyes, just sees the women running from tent to tent to tent. Imagine this scene. Fire everywhere. Women running in chaos, screaming, saying, Wa Husayna, Wa Kha, Wa Abdullah. Inna yawm al-Husayn akraha jufunana. Imam Rida says that on the day of Hussein, our eyelids tear, our eyelids. What kind of musibah is this? Wa asbala dumu'ana. And our tears fall. وَأَذَلَّ عَزِيزَنَا. وَأَذَلَّ عَزِيزُنَا. And our Aziz was made dhaleel. Our Aziz Hussein was humiliated on the 10th day of Muharram, Yawm al-Ashir. فَلَبَّيْكَ الْبَاكُونَ, he says. He's saying that we are with you, O criers, we are with you. فَإِنَّ الْبُكَاء, for the tears erase even the greatest of sins. I'll end with the line of poetry recited in the Majlis of Imam Rida, salamullahi alayhi. Listen to this line of poetry, brothers. Da'bal al-Khuzai enters the Majlis of Imam Rida. The Imam tells him, recite a nasheed for me about my grandfather. Da'bal begins. He says, Fatima lo khilt al-Husayn mujaddilan. Oh Fatima, had you seen Hussein lying down? وَقَدْ مَاتَتْ عَطْشَانًا بِشَطِّ فُرَاتِي. For Hussein has died thirsty at the Furat. إِذًا لَتَمَتْ الْخِدْ فَاطِمَةَ عِنْدَهُ. And when Fatima begins to hit her cheeks at the body of her son, وَجْرَيْتِ دَمَ الْعَيْنِ فِي الْوَجِنَاتِ. And the tears begin to fall down her holy cheeks. Imam Rida tells Da'bal, قد نطقت روح القدوس من لسانك يا دعبل, that the Ruh al-Quddus, the Holy Spirit, has spoken from your tongue. Fatima قومي يا ابنة الخير واندبي. Oh Fatima, stand, go to your son, mourn for your son, for the bodies lay there out like stars in the earth, like stars that have fallen to the earth. ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين. ماتم حسين.
Ya Hussein.